Welcome to Garden Crossings. I'm Heidi. So I am going to be taking you through the first garden tour here at the greenhouses of the season. It is the end of April and things are just slowly starting to wake up a little bit. So I wanted to just kind of show you the structure of these gardens before they really become alive and full of color. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the garden with me, and I'll show you all the things that are looking interesting now, as well as kind of talk about projects we have planned for the spring and this summer. So right now we are at the south end of the property. This is kind of what we're going to call the south berm. And this absolutely looks stunning in the summer. We planted up with a bunch of petunias, the perennials all come alive, the shrubs come alive, and things really look exciting in this garden. So let's go ahead and kind of get in here and take a look at what's kind of happening right now. We've got some coneflowers that are starting to wake up over here, so that's encouraging. We've got some creeping phlox and our dianthus that are waking up, and they'll be blooming probably in about a month and a half or so. So that will be exciting. This is just going to be a solid border of the dianthus paint the town dianthus. So that's going to really be pretty. We do have a couple creeping phlox though, because those start blooming a little earlier in the season, just to give us that initial jump start kick of color. Whoops, that lupin just got a little stepping on. Got some daylilies and some poppies starting to pop. We've got this beautiful hedge here. This is an evergreen little, hedge border that we did. These are the the strongbox ilex. So these are evergreen ilex. And the reason we did this is as they grow and mature, we just wanted to create kind of an evergreen hedge that lined this beautiful birch tree. Along the back of this berm, we planted a few of the dogwood. So we have the Arctic Fire dogwood, Arctic Fire red, and Arctic Fire yellow. And these we planted to give this garden some winter interest. Also, I'm always scrambling for red twigs in the winter. So I thought, you know what, why not go ahead and plant a few of my own plants? That way I can have all the red twigs that I'm looking to have. The thing that's interesting too with these two dogwoods is the red twig dogwood, the Arctic Fire red, has more of an upright type habit, while you'll notice the Arctic Fire yellow has more of a more mounded, sprawling type habit. So definitely two different unique habits, both with interesting twigs for winter interest. The hibiscus here, we have the summerific hibiscus, and these are going to be the last things to show any sign of life in this garden. So it's probably going to be June 1st before I even see a tiny little sprig of green. So I don't worry about those guys, because I always know they're the last ones to wake up, and I never fret, because once they do wake up, they're going to be blooming in no time, usually the beginning or mid-August. We have a nice little patch of some daylilies that are coming up. Looks like our pugster butterfly bushes did pretty good through the winter. So we didn't trim these back at all because butterfly bushes here in Michigan can be a little temperamental at times. We're a zone 5B, 6A or so. So we left all of the old wood on, and I can see that they're coming back not only on the old wood, but also at the base. So that's really encouraging. That just tells me that these will be flowering earlier than had I trimmed them back to the ground over the winter. Sometimes that does need to be done though. So if it was right now and I was seeing a lot of green at the base of the butterfly bush and nothing up here at the top, I would go ahead and trim all that brown out. But since we're seeing growth, that's perfect. We're gonna leave them. We've got some bloomerangs, some dwarf, this is a proudberry. Proudberry starting to leaf out. This here is our bloomerang lilac. So this is the bloomerang dark purple lilac. It's probably about 5-ish foot tall, and it is just loaded with buds. So once this baby starts blooming, it is gonna smell amazing. And this is a reblooming lilac. The bloomerang lilacs are rebloomers. So not only are we gonna get this beautiful first initial flush of flowers this spring, we're gonna continue to get little florets throughout the summer as well. So it's just always fun to have lilacs not only in the spring when you're expecting them, but the beautiful little surprises throughout the summer as well. Some daylilies in this area. We planted some bulbs. This is, I'm probably gonna say it wrong, so I apologize, but a Ferrelia. I don't know, but that's got buds on it, so that should be blooming fairly soon. So once it does, I'll try to get out here and get a picture. We planted some daffodils kind of throughout in this berm just to have little pokes of color early, like you're seeing here in front of me. And as those naturalize, they'll continue to fill in and produce even more flowers. Up front here, these are doing really great. This is the double play candy corn spirea. So look at this bold pop of color here in this garden. Vibrant kind of coppery orange colors. The candy corn will get some pinkish magenta flowers on it during the summer, but really this is like a beautiful pop of color for right now when there's not a whole lot going out in this bed. So that's going to be really exciting to watch as those continue to fill out and grow. But yeah, a great addition for early season color with the double play candy corn spirea. Next, we're going to head over to the sign because I think this is going to be where all the show and tell will be for the probably next week or so. We'll be seeing the tulips really starting to bloom. So let's take a closer look at where they're at right now. So I am just counting the days until this flower bed becomes alive. You can see it is packed full of tulips. Thousands of tulip bulbs are planted in this area. I believe there's 4 or 6 different colors, so we'll see as they start to emerge. And the nice thing I'm seeing here is some are in bud and some of them are just starting. So that means we're not going to have them all blooming in 1 week and then nothing left. There's going to be a little bit of stages and staggering here with the blooms. So wow, I mean, these are just days away from showing us some color. It looks like they're going to be a purple or beautiful orange color. The weather here in Michigan has been really up and down, very bipolar. Last week we were all in the 70s and 80s and everyone was getting excited that yes, spring, summer is finally here. But this week we had snow on Monday, a little bit of snow on Tuesday, and it is just freezing outside. So the plants get very confused. They're up, they're down. They don't know if they should be happy or sad. But the tulips right now, they are looking quite happy and yeah, just excited to watch when those bloom. So we'll be sure to put pictures up when that's happening as well. So we're gonna head on over to the waterfall bed and see what's going on over there. We're gonna start the waterfall bed here kind of right at the entrance of our drive. You can see there's some more tulips have been planted along with some daffodils. So this is gonna be really pretty once this gets all flowered up. But you'll also notice there's a little splash of sunshine here in the middle of this bed. That is the Forsythia Show Off Sugar Baby. And that is just a beautiful welcome, I don't know, Forsythia to me just say welcome spring with their beautiful yellow flowers. And I feel like around here in Michigan, this is one of the first shrubs that really do a lot as far as the color, especially here in our gardens. So I was thinking the other day, and I'd forgotten about this one, that we needed to plant a few more Forsythia through here just to have that kind of welcome to spring feel with those flowers. So as we continue to walk, we'll see. Maybe there's some more tucked in that I forget about. But yeah, that's just a gorgeous welcome to spring. We've got the daylilies. Those are the Going Bananas daylilies. They're starting to wake up a little bit. And behind them are the blue chip butterfly bush. So right now, most of the growth for the blue chip butterfly bush is coming at the base of the plant. So we'll continue to watch them here for probably another couple weeks. And as we see where the growth is coming from, that dead top might get trimmed off and the flowers this year will come from the base there of the plant. Now this is fairly typical of what we see here in Michigan with butterfly bush, is them coming back there from that base. This is going to be lined with sun patiens again this year once we get out here and get the annuals planted. And we're really got some exciting different plants that we'll be putting in here as well. So probably, I don't know, maybe another 3 weeks or so before we get out here and start planting the annuals. It'll just depend on what the weather's doing. So we kind of try to watch that weather closely because we don't want to get this all planted up and then get it cold, because then we're just going to kill everything we plant. So we really do watch the weather when we're getting annuals planted outside. Oh, back in here's a little something special. This here actually is a little planting of Nepeta cat's pajamas starting to pop up, but that's not what I was referring to. So we don't have a ton of shade in this garden, so we kind of utilize everything we can. This one is the Pulmonaria Pink A Blue. Beautiful foliage on that, green with that silver speckles, and then the flowers are pink and blue. So really a lot of contrast and a great addition to your shade garden to, again, say welcome spring with a little bit of flower. So this is what the waterfall looks like actually before it all gets planted up. Usually you're seeing the water flowing and the flowers just pouring over all the rocks. But this is kind of the bones of the waterfall before it all gets planted up. So we'll have to come through, maybe do a little bit cleaning out, although we don't usually do a ton because it usually kind of just cleans itself. But this has been reworked a couple different times over the years. We've been here for about 18 years now, and originally that top waterfall drained into this pond down here and then also into that pond, but it wasn't working well, so we just directed it one waterfall into one pond, and then the one over there in the corner we just kind of let go natural with cattails and frogs and whatever. They're all in there, and this one is more just for like the actual landscape beautification, I would suppose. So a few years ago we dug out this huge pond down here and filled it all in and created more of a dry bed type pond, so that way we don't have the sitting water, and that's worked really well. So the water tricks into the reservoir, and there's really never any standing water here unless we get a ton of rain. Then it will kind of pool there, but then it goes away. We've got this rock fountain that we have sitting in the middle, so the rock fountain just kind of sputters water up, lands into the dry bed, and gets recycled back up to the top of the waterfall. This pond here is kind of just what you would think of a typical kind of just yucky El Natural kind of pond. There's frogs in it, there's tadpoles in it, and there's all kinds of scummy leaves and stuff in there. Typically we don't go in there and clean that out. We just kind of let it be natural. Cattails will grow in it, although we do go, and if the cattails start growing, we'll pull those out at times because they do kind of create kind of an obstruction for our customers that are pulling out of the driveway. So we'll come through and pull those out if they start to grow. But this is just your typical gross natural pond, but I think it's okay. I think it has a place in the garden as well, especially for like the wildlife and the frogs. We have some more spirea up front that are just starting to bud out. So those are kind of a really pretty kind of a chartreuse yellow color. So that's going to really pop, especially from the road, once they get a little bit more further with their leafing out process. In the back there we have a huge weeping cherry tree. That tree's been here since we bought the place, so it's probably going on 4 years old. Or 22 years old. It is absolutely huge. Not my favorite, to be honest. So it's just sometimes those weeping trees, when they get so old and so big, they just kind of lose the cuteness that they had when they were little. So we'll probably leave it for now because work to remove it, but not my favorite. I'm being painfully honest here with you folks. So that's one thing you'll find if you've just started to watch my station is I really don't hold back any punches. If there's something I don't like, I'm going to tell you because I figure honesty is the best policy, right? So let's go head over to our north berm. This was planted, so we're going on the third season, I believe, in this garden bed. I still feel like it's a little underwhelming, a little young, so we'll see what it does this summer. I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised with what goes on. We've planted a lot of perennials in there last year, so I'm hoping that it will start to feel more like a mature garden bed coming this summer. But before we stop there, we're going to take a quick look here at the 55-mile-an-hour garden bed. So you may be asking, why do we call this the 55-mile-an-hour garden bed? Well, here's your answer. Just watch and wait for it. And we probably can safely say they're going about 60 to 65 because who goes the speed limit? So we got to make sure when we're planting this bed up that we have it so that it's super eye-popping so that people will turn their head as they're just flying past on this busy road. So along the front of this bed, this is where we plant up typically the Vista bubblegum petunias, although this year we have a surprise. We're going to shake it up, so I don't want to spoil anything. Stay tuned for future videos to see what it is we're going to put in here for the spring. We've also put quite a few little daffodils, just kind of dabbled through here. And again, hoping that they'll eventually naturalize and kind of fill out so that eventually this will just have a lot more just natural bulb spring color. We did plant a couple arborvitaes in here. This is the Arborvitae Fluffy, or Thuya Fluffy. And the reason we chose this is because we wanted that bright golden color, so that as they mature, this will be like that bright splash of color when there really is not a lot of color going on. This is a very windy location. You can see there's a cornfield across from us. So we get a lot of wind coming from the west that just flies through this area. So there's a little bit of wind damage on here from the winter, but we noticed that last year as well. Like, this plant was pretty brown last year from the wind, and it recovered nicely. So I anticipate this is going to do well and recover from that wind damage over the summer. All right, so the new garden bed. So we're going to have a lot of annuals planted into this summer. Right now, few little splashes of color. So it does look like we planted up a forsythia out here, which this excites me because I was hoping we had another place that had some more spring color. This is a Forsythia Starlet. This was just planted last year, so it doesn't have a lot of size yet. But the thing that's nice with these show-off Forsythia is they bloom from what I like to say from tip to toe, meaning from the top of that plant to the bottom of the plant, it is solid line of flowers. So if you're looking for Forsythias that are just a massive ball of flower and color, that's what you're going to get with that show-off series of Forsythia. We'll walk through here and see what else we've got. So when we planted this, we did kind of a sweep of evergreens here, and these are the gem box. Over there we had strong box. These we did gem box. So we just did kind of a nice sweep of them. And as these continue to grow, this is going to also give us that nice evergreen hedge in this bed, just to give it a little bit of structure when there's really not a lot going on. Does look like the plants are starting to come up pretty nice. So that's always encouraging when you're seeing green, when you knew you planted a bunch of things in here. This here is a Proven Winners ginkgo tree, so we'll see how that does. It was kind of struggling last summer, so I'm hoping that it will do well and leaf out this spring. So it's still probably a little bit sleeping, and I'm hoping it's not like dead. I'm hoping it is just sleeping, and we'll see some foliage come on that, because it really is a very cool plant with neat texture. This is exciting, the Heptacodium Temple of Bloom, or Seven Sunflower. This is one of those plants that we sell a ton of, and I've seen it in the trial garden, and it is gorgeous. But we really, up until this berm, didn't have a place big enough really to put it. So this is exciting to see that we have this growing here, and this is something we'll have to continue to watch over the years to see it grow and continue to flourish. But this is exciting that we have a specimen in here. That is one thing I should say, in all of our beds, what we're trying to do is get a very huge sampling of the Proven Winners, annuals, perennials, and shrubs. So the exciting thing is this year, 2023, Garden Crossings has been designated as a Proven Winners signature garden. So basically, we're honored to have that, and I'd like to say this is just a walking catalog. Like, if you're looking for your favorite Proven Winner plants, walking through all of our garden beds, you're going to see a huge sampling of all the perennials, all the annuals, and all the shrubs. Now, I say all. I don't mean all, because we didn't have every plant out here. But there's just a huge sampling in these garden beds, and we have all of them inside in our greenhouses in our store for you to check out. So really exciting just to watch this bed come alive. One thing we did do in this bed that we haven't done in other areas is we're doing more mass planting. So planting 5, 7, or 3s, just different groupings to get kind of that big full explosion of color when they do start to bloom. Typically my garden style has always been one of everything, because I want to just see all the things. But I understand, and I know that that's just really, it's an okay way to garden, but if you want to have mass, if you really want to have things stand out, you've got to do kind of multiples to get the real full effect. We have some more candy corn spirea right here planted, a little grouping of 3, and they're starting to put on their new foliage, so that's really cool, giving that bright splash again of that coppery yellow color, or coppery orange color. Mr. Mustard is starting to sprout some leaves. Really interesting texture. This was the flower from last fall. But look at that beautiful texture that that plant has, the greens, the yellows, the oranges, and just the leaves themselves bring a lot of texture. We did another sweep over here. This is the Sprinter boxwood. So this way we have another kind of a sweep of evergreen color as these continue to get larger and mature. So those will be fun to watch. And that's something we'll trim into a hedge because that's just what you do when you have boxwood, right? The Rise Up roses, they're coming back really nicely. So you can see how we have these in these obelisks, and they're just going to kind of stay in that area. And yeah, excited to see how they do out in the landscape. We've got Amberness, Lilac Days, and I guess this one will be a surprise. We'll see. The Heuchera are coming back nice. These Heuchera are, I'm stepping in a patch of coneflowers. These Heuchera are the wild berry. So Heuchera are another great plant just to kind of give you the evergreen color in the garden. We've got Dianthus on that side, so that's just going to be a massive color. We've got these flowers behind it. This is going to be a nice mass of late summer color, and we did all kinds of colors of coneflowers, so that's going to be cool. Another sweep of Dianthus just kind of balance off behind this rock wall here. So this side here is feeling a little bit more mature, I feel like, than the beginning of this bed, but time will tell. Created these neat re-rod looking trellises for the clematis to climb, and they're starting to climb up. We've got Jolly Good and Viva Polonia out here. So I wanted to kind of create kind of like a artistic-y look, and that's kind of what we were going with those. All right, some Durvilla. Durvilla's starting to kind of put on a little color. This is a great native shrub, great foliage color for sun or shade. We've got 3 different varieties here, so you can compare the looks of the 3 of them once they are more mature. A project that we have for this summer that we're working on is, so this greenhouse area is now complete. We've come as close to the road as we want to. So we're going to be building a probably approximately 3 to 4 foot retaining wall about 4 foot or so off that greenhouse. So it's going to drop down, and that's going to create more garden beds for us to be able to plant another 150 foot of beautiful space. Ideally, what Rod would like to do is put some picnic tables and stuff in here to create kind of a little park-like setting. So we'll see if we end up doing that or not. We did talk about too, maybe putting like a shade tree in this area. Although that would be great for that park-like feeling. It's not so great for the greenhouse though, because it's going to shade a lot of sun onto areas that we really do want the full sun. So we'll see what this project ends up being, but I do know that there's a retaining wall that's going to be placed, and then garden beds that are going to be created off of that retaining wall. All right, I think we got another space to head to. I know I had some ilex that were blooming with berries, so I guess berrying. So let's see if they're still doing that. Right now we're in the bed that's in front of our butterfly house, and this is where I was hoping to see some berries. Just 2 weeks ago I was out here and they were loaded with berries, and it looks like these are the berry poppins. We can still see that there are some berries on the plant, but I think the heat and just, changes of seasons, the berries have started to drop and it's starting to leaf out. These plants were absolutely gorgeous this winter. I have 2 of them in here along with the Mr. Poppins because they need a male pollinator, and these provided so much bright red color in the snow. It was simply gorgeous. So in this bed we've got some Heuchera. They're going to recover. They're going to look good, just kind of their winter ugliness that sometimes goes on, but those crispy leaves will go away and they'll be fresh looking. We've got some Heliopsis. This is Tuscan, actually it's not Tuscan Sun, this is the new one, Bit of Honey. So those came back really nicely. They've got some nice variegated foliage on them, so that's going to be a really great plant to look forward to here for 2023. We've got some of the hydrangeas starting to leaf out, so that's really encouraging as well. This is the incredible blush hydrangea, a smooth hydrangea. So these bloom off of the new growth. So that's really going to give some structure. There's 3 of them in this garden bed. Some Monarda starting to come back. Aronia. So we've got some Aronia low scape mound down here. Some phlox. This berry bush over here is a little bit better. So these are very faded and washed out. Typically they're bright red in the winter, but you can see, I mean, this is just the what's left of the berries. That's a lot of berry coverage, even for this late in the spring. So let's go ahead and take the corner to the parking lot bed. And see what we have here. So we've got a nice mass planting there of tulips, so a little splash of color as we make the corner. We've got some phlox that's just starting to bloom, so that's going to be pretty. It looks like it had a little dieback this winter. This is also where a lot of our parking lot snow gets dumped on these plants, so that could be part of that problem. So we'll see how that pulls through as the summer goes on, but that's going to be pretty once it really gets full of color. At Last Rose, that's coming back nicely. Tons of foliage here for the opening act phlox. This is opening act blush. Just look at all that. That's going to be a massive color once that starts flowering. Bartzilla peony, that's coming back really nice. That's got the gorgeous bright yellow blooms. So we're going to be sure to do a video on that once it starts flowering. Allium are coming back. Another candy corn spirea. Nice splash of color. It's important with your spring gardens that you're thinking about foliage. So obviously the candy corn spirea is providing excellent foliage. In my home garden, I have the Gold Heart Bleeding Heart, and that's golden foliage. My hostas, some of them at home, are golden. So as they're starting to emerge, you're not seeing just all these, same shades of green. You're seeing really beautiful golden pops of color as well. Wee White's coming back. Pugster's looking good. Ooh, here we have the Heaven Sent Jacob's Ladder. This has got some buds on it, so that's going to be an early bloomer. So that'll be exciting for us to watch as that starts to wake up. This bed kind of repeats itself once we get to the middle. It kind of repeats in both directions. This is part of our Monarch Watch way station also. So we're part of the Monarch Watch group, creating spaces and places to help raise the monarch butterflies. So not only do we do this in our butterfly house, we also have our gardens that are full of milkweed, nectar sources, and all the plants that the monarchs need to thrive and keep populating. Ooh, down at the end, I think we're going to end it with a beautiful splash of color. This was totally unintentional, but glad we actually have something we can show you. So here we have a beautiful phlox starting to bloom. This one is the Phlox Spring Bling Sparkles. And just look at that beautiful mass of color. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I always make sure to get to any questions that you have. If this is your first time watching, subscribe, and if this is your first time watching, be sure to subscribe and follow us through all of our garden tours throughout the summer. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.